Today I have a math lesson for you that's all about polygons. And in this math lesson I'm going to be teaching you about what polygons are and what they aren't, about different kinds of polygons, and then we'll go into some specifics about triangles and quadrilaterals, which have more specific names for their different types. So, first of all, we have this lovely Polygon Family Tree, and on the tree trunk I wanted to put some things about what a polygon is, what makes a polygon. So a polygon, to be a polygon, it has to be a 2D or a flat figure. It needs to be a closed figure, so it can't have any pieces that aren't connected together. So for example, these two down here and this one, they're not connected, so that can't be a polygon. It's only made up of straight lines, and in order to make a closed figure with just straight lines, it has to have at least 3 or more sides. You can't make a shape that has 2 sides closed, or else it's just a straight line. So that wouldn't be a polygon. So it at least has to have 3 or more sides. And then also, it can't have any curves. Like I said, it's made up of straight lines. So for example, this circle down here, or this like semicircle with a straight edge, those aren't polygons because they're not made up of straight lines. They don't have sides, and they don't have 3 or more sides. And then finally, you cannot have intersecting lines through the shape. So for example, this star with its intersecting lines, these lines are intersecting with each other, making crosses. That's not a polygon. This figure 8 here is not a polygon because its lines are crossing in the middle of the shape. And it's also made of curves, so it wouldn't be a polygon in the first place. So I think I've gone through all these examples of what a polygon is not. Now we can go through what polygons are. So as you can see, there are a lot of branches that branch off, telling us the different kinds of polygons. And polygons, basically, the name is for how many sides that they have. So I'm pretty sure you're probably familiar with what a pentagon is. Well, pentagon, the prefix penta means 5. So a pentagon means it's a shape with 5 sides. And I put like one of the most popular pentagon shapes, which looks like a house. So that has 5 sides. A hexagon, which you're probably a little bit familiar with as well, is a polygon with 6 sides. And I drew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, has 6 sides. A heptagon would just be this shape with 1 more side. Adding 1 more side, it would have 7. An octagon, which octopus has 8 tentacles, while an octagon has 8 sides. One of the most familiar ones that you see in everyday life is a stop sign. Stop signs are octagons, and they have 8 sides to them. A nonagon has 9 sides. Nona sounds like 9, so it's a polygon with 9 sides. A decagon has 10 sides. Think about the prefix in the word decimal. That's out of base 10s. So a decagon is a shape that has 10 sides, and I tried to draw my best star, but this shape, it might not be very regular, but it has 10 sides, so it would be considered a decagon. It's a closed shape, it doesn't have curves and no intersecting lines, so it's definitely a decagon. And then I couldn't really draw this one because this one's really hard to draw. A dodecagon is a polygon with 12 sides, and that's really all we're gonna have to really know thus far as 5th graders. Just making sure that you're aware that these have different names because of their sides. And then triangles, and then quadrilaterals. And like I said, these are branching off differently because within triangles there are specific names that you can call triangles, and within quadrilaterals there are specific names that you can call these quadrilaterals, and that's what we're going to be diving into today. I'll first start out by going over a triangle. So a triangle is just a polygon with 3 sides. Tri meaning 3. You can think of the word tricycle. It has 3 wheels on it. So a triangle, it's a polygon with 3 sides and 3 angles. Okay. Now, we learned in class that triangles can have 2 names, just like we have a first and last name. Triangles can also have a first and last name too. Their first or last names can come by their angles, and they can come by their sides. So what that means is a triangle that has a right angle, has one right angle, could be or is called a right triangle. All right, and if that triangle, it only needs to have that one right angle, and you can probably notice any triangle that has that little square in the corner showing that that's a right angle at 90 degrees, that's just called a right triangle. Now the other 2 angles are acute, so you're only looking for that one right angle. That one angle gives it away a right triangle. All right, and the next one by angles is an acute triangle. In an acute triangle, all 3 of its angles have to be acute for it to be an acute triangle. So this little triangle that I have here, it's got these cute little angles to help you remember. Oh, acute means it's an angle that's less than 90 degrees. It's a small, cute little angle. And then, but remember, to make it acute, all three of those little angles have to be cute little angles. Have to be a cute little angles. Just calling it cute. And then we have an obtuse triangle. And I have an example here. Just like in the right, you're only looking for that one obtuse angle that it's going to give it away. So an obtuse triangle only has one obtuse angle, and remember, obtuse angles are angles that measure more than 90 degrees. They're very obtuse, very big. Okay, so those were names by angles. Now we're going to go through names by sides. And I'm going to try to give you some ways that you can help yourself remember these, even though some of them are kind of far-fetched and I'm reaching a little bit. But so by sides, the first name that you could name a triangle by its sides, well, let's say this triangle has no equal sides. This side is shorter than this one, and this side is not the same as that one. So that means none of those sides are equal. None of those sides are congruent or the same. And we call that, in triangle world, we call that a scalene triangle. And the way I used to remember that when I was younger is that I thought of scales and how with scales and weighing things that you always wanted to try to balance something that wasn't equal out. Well, that's how I kind of remember scaling. In scaling, nothing's equal. Like I said, just the sides, looking at the sides, no sides are equal. Another name that we can give a triangle by its side, so looking at the outside now, not the inside, by its angles, by its sides is an isosceles triangle. So an isosceles triangle, and I'm putting the emphasis on I, in an isosceles triangle, it has 2 sides that are congruent or 2 sides that are the same or equal. Okay, as you can see in this example, this side is equal to that side, and that is shown by having these little ticks on the side of the triangle. A way that I remember this, because I said emphasis on eyes, well, you have 2 eyes. Isosceles means 2 sides are equal in a triangle. So that could be a way that you remember that one. And then finally, let's say you had a triangle and all of its sides were equal. All of those sides had the little tick marks saying that they are equal to one another. Well, this one's a pretty easy way to remember this one. That triangle is called an equilateral triangle. The word equal and lateral. Well, equal means the same, and then lateral means a line. So all that triangle is made up of equal lines. Equilateral, all sides are the same. Equal, equal, equal. So that could be a nice way to help yourself remember those. I'm going to move on, because that was just a quick review of triangles. I'm going to move on to quadrilaterals. And with quadrilaterals, they can be a little bit trickier to remember what's what and which one has what names. And because some of these over here can be considered and have multiple names. And I'm going to show you that through a story. And this story, it's about the Quadrilateral family tree. It's a pretty silly story, but it definitely helps you kind of remember the attributes of the different types of quadrilaterals, and it helps you remember all the names that each quadrilateral can have. So we're going to be paying attention here in this branch of our family tree, and I'm going to be showing you while reading this fun story. So it's the Quadrilateral family story in rhyme. Listen, my children, and I'll tell you a story about my children and grandchildren in all of their glory. My name is Quadra. Of the quads, I'm the queen. I am a four-sided figure like you've never seen. My parents were polygons, each with sides more than 3. They had a bunch of kids, my brothers and sisters and me. First came Triangula. Inside she had 3. Then along I came with one more side than she. My little brother Pentagano was the next child to arrive. He was a closed figure also, and sides, well, he had 5. My parents had many more. This lovely polygon pair. But all of that can wait for another time to share. 'Cause I'm here to tell you about what happened to me and all about the members of my own family. I fell in love with Quadro while working on the farm. I could not resist the pull of his 4-sided charm. So Quadra and Quadro. We both had 4 sides and closed figures were we. So we got hitched in the chapel as happy as could be. With 3 or more sides, we were polygons, like Mom and Dad, but we were also quadrilaterals, because exactly 4 sides we had. So quadrilaterals can have a name. They can be named polygon, and then more specifically, they're also called quadrilaterals. Where was it? After a few years of this life in wedded bliss, our children came along. How pleased we were with this, because each of our 2 children had 4 sides, just as we, which made them quadrilaterals and part of the Polygon family. But each of them also had their own distinct features, and though they were the same, they were distinctly different creatures. The first was Parallella, and she hated things that crossed. She felt all lines should never touch or their uniqueness would be lost. And I'm doing one of these things because parallellas, she doesn't like things that cross. Well, in a parallelogram, all sides are, the opposite sides of the parallelogram are parallel to each other, and then also the opposite sides are equal. She stuck to her convictions, she lived and used them well, and made sure her opposite sides were always parallel. Yes, she made sure her opposite sides, when extended by so much, or even when extended forever, would never, ever touch. Satisfied with the notion, 2 pairs of parallel sides had she. She lived as a polygon, as a quadrilateral, and as a parallelogram. You see, so parallelogram, she has the name polygon, she has the name quadrilateral, but then she's got her own distinct feature, which makes her a parallelogram. Let's meet the other son. Then along came our son Zoidy, which is going to be short for trapezoid. Our pride and joy was he. He was a little odd, that boy, and we named him Zoidy. Whereas Parallella was insistent that lines should never touch, Zoidy was not so concerned about parallel lines. not so much. Zoidy, he was happy with parallel sides, just one pair. The other pair could point in any direction. He really did not care. Zoidy looked like a closed trap, they said, with one pair parallel. They sometimes called him a trapezoid, a quadrilateral, and a polygon as well. So trapezoids, only one pair of parallel sides, only one pair of lines that will never ever cross, and then the other two can be doing whatever, he said. So there are two different examples of a trapezoid. So a trapezoid also has three names. A trapezoid is a polygon, trapezoid is a quadrilateral, but more specifically, if it has one pair of parallel sides, we just need to be calling it by its more specific name, which is a trapezoid. So up grew our children with one pair of parallel sides, or two, each of them the same, but each unique, it's true. Now, Zoidy was a ladies' man. He was not one to settle down. There was nothing more that he enjoyed than a night out on the town. So Zoidy, he did not get hitched, never married at all, you see. For this guy with one pair of parallel sides, it was the end of his family tree. As you can see, his family tree doesn't go on anymore. He didn't get married and have kids. So let's read about what happens to Parallella. Parallella, she was different. She wanted her own family, and her dream came true when she met Parallelo. What a dreamy man was he. For he had this thing about touch and all opposite sides parallel. The two of them had so much in common, it was clear they'd get on well. So they got married and lived in harmony, as young newlyweds often do. Just a pair of happy parallelograms, but quads and polygons too. The couple had 3 children. They were like Quadro and me. Because all of them had 4 sides also, they were all closed figures, you see. But they were also just like Parallella, with opposite sides parallel, but each of them had their own special feature, which made them unique as well. Rectangula was the first child to arrive, but she thought she was always right. So she arrived with 4 90-degree angles, yes, every angle in sight. The 4 right angles caused her to exclaim, and correct she was when done. I'm a polygon, a quad, and a parallelogram, and a rectangle, all rolled into one. So rectangula for rectangle. Opposite sides are parallel. She is a parallelogram because she comes from parallella. But she has 4 right angles. She thinks she's always right. So that makes her a rectangle as well. And her more specific name would be rectangle. So a rectangle is a polygon. It's a quadrilateral. It's a parallelogram. And its most specific name is rectangle. So it has 4 names. How interesting. Let's hear about another one of their parallel children. The second child was named Rhomboy. Rightness mattered less to he, but he was one who was concerned with fairness and full-side equality. Equal. So Rhomboy arrived with 4 equal sides, and with math terms he was so fluent that he looked carefully at all 4 sides and declared them all congruent. He looked at all those congruent sides and said with heaps of glee, I'm a polygon, a quad, and a parallelogram, and yes, a rhombus too. That's me. So a rhombus shares A rhombus is a parallelogram, so its opposite sides are parallel, but what makes them unique is that all 4 sides are equal. He believed in equality. So he has 4 names as well. He's a polygon, quadrilateral, a parallelogram, and most specifically, a rhombus. All right, now we're going to get to learn about somebody, the last member of their family. Now, Parallella would have been happy. Rectangula and Rhomboy gave her joy. But then along came a new child, number 3, and he was another boy. He was a little squirt, they said, and a different child was he, because he was the perfect combination of his brother and sister in every quality. For every side he has was congruent, just like Rhomboy, his big bro, but all of his angles were also right, so he was rectangular also. Of the polygons, yelled Squirt, a square is the best of them to be, 'cause it's a quad, a parallelogram, a rectangle, a rhombus. That's 6 total names for me. So this is the story of my great family, quadrilaterals, everyone. And so let's fill out my family tree and have some polygon fun. I only read that one. I was hesitant to read that one because we have basically already filled out their family tree while I'm showing you. So a square in the poem, it just said he has 6 names too. Well, let's count up his names. A square is a polygon. More specifically, it's a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides. More specifically, it's a parallelogram. Its opposite sides are parallel. More specifically, it's a rhombus because all of its sides are the same. And more specifically, it's also a rectangle. Its sides meet at 90-degree angles. So we call this shape a square because it has all of these qualities. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 names for a square. I hope you enjoyed that fun little story, and I hope you learned something new about polygons and hopefully found some new strategies to help you remember the types of triangles and the types of quadrilaterals. Have a great day. I will see you in my next video. Bye.